Yo, 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 what is up, my fallopian tubers? Cesario from the barrio coming back at you with another video for your butt. And today I'm going to make a different kind of video inspired by David Blue Jacket 66, man. Told a great story about him getting the autograph from Satchel Paige. Like in person at Satchel Paige's house. That's pretty incredible. But at the beginning of his video, he said like, "Oh, I'm not a good storyteller, and this and that." So I took that YouTube video to the Maury Povich show, and the lie detector determined that was a lie, because that was some great storytelling by Dave there, and I learned a lot myself. So that's kind of where I want to hopefully go with this right now. Is I'm going to try that myself. What? Oh, hear that bird? What I learned a lot from him was like storytelling, like saying the backstories to little facts in your story and details. So that's what I'm gonna try to do. But real quick, I forgot about this bird, man. But check out this bird. Check out this parrot. All right, we came out one day, and then for a couple of days, it was in here in this room right here, which is like the laundry room. There's a washer and dryer. We got the treadmill. Here's a Coca-Cola machine. But all the weights and workout stuff, which I can't work out anymore because I developed asthma as an adult. Go figure. But anyways, we have that bird now, and we're not. I think we named it Chico. But that bird, you might wonder, like, well, how did we already have a bird cage? See, I'm learning this from Dave. So that bird cage, I remember we got it at I think it was an estate sale. This was back in the days, man, when estate sales and thrift stores and stuff like that were cheap. They were designed to get rid of stuff for cheap to help out less fortunate people. Back then there were no flippers. Like nowadays, there's flippers at the thrift stores, at the Goodwill and stuff. But back then, I remember, that was a thing. I was making like minimum wage back in those days, making $7.25 an hour, $7.15, I think it was. In California is no joke. But back in the days, man, the thrift stores, pawn shops and stuff, they were relatively cheap. But once Antique Roadshow came out, boom! It was like the card boom of us during COVID. The card boom, that's what happened with antiques with the Antique Roadshow. Like thrift stores, like boom, they just got a boom all of a sudden. I remember like literally like I had just bought a Bob's Big Boy piggy bank, and the thrift store had like 20 of them, on a shelf, and I just bought one. They were like $5 or something. They were cheap. But a couple of people went to my house and they seen them. They're like, "Hey, where'd you get that? I want one." And I told them, "We're at the thrift store. Let's go." It was walking distance. We walked, and the lady raised the price to like $100. I think it was like $100, maybe even $150. But she says she seen them on the Antiques Roadshow, and they were selling for like $200. So it was like, what, like. How does this jump from $5 to like $150, $200? But whatever. I mean, stuff happens, man. Evolution. You gotta adapt. Those who are, fight against change, are destined to perish. So, wow, that was deep. But anyways, yeah, that bird cage. Yeah, so. We had that bird cage, and then we actually did have some birds. The first bird that we had was a singing canary. I don't remember how we got it, but we had a singing canary as a baby. So this singing canary, it learned every Led Zeppelin song, like a lot of Led Zeppelin songs that I would listen to all the time. So at that particular time in my life, I was really heavy into Led Zeppelin because I had just bought the booklet of Led Zeppelin. And I remember that thing was like $80 back then, which was a lot of money for me. But I sacrificed, scratched, pulled, and was able to buy it. Now, the reason I wanted to buy it so desperately is because, man, I was working at this place called Bailey Dreams at the time, and I had a poker party at my house. So I had this poker party at my house, and a couple of my friends, that I work with, they went to my house to play poker. And my kids, I forgot what they were doing, but they were like their assistants and counting their chips for them and placing them and keeping their whatever, man. But they were like tipping my kids to work for them. Man, and my kids at the time were young, like probably like 5 and 7 or 8 or around that time. But I was really heavily into rap music. Heavily into rap music, like everybody was back then, or it seemed like in my neighborhood at least, or my area. And so we were while we were playing poker, I was listening to the NWA CD, 1,000 Miles and Running, and that song, Don't Matter, Just Don't Bite It. She swallowed, and came on. So my kids sang the lyrics. Okay, so imagine this. If you know the lyrics to that song, it's about, doing something perverted, and it says like, don't matter, just don't bite it. And then so my son said, don't matter, just don't bite it. And then my daughter like sang the next verse, which was, she swallowed it. And to them it was innocent fun. But my friends who know the song and like, whoa, what are they singing? They made like a kind of like a little thing about it, like, whoa, hey, what are you kids? Hey, check it out. And that was the first time it hit me, because for their entire lives, I had been listening to rap music and music talking about bad things and setting bad examples without even giving a thought that this is what I was feeding their mind. So from that point on, at that night, I decided to myself, like, okay, I'm not going to listen to any music that's derogatory to people, derogatory to a sex, a class, whatever. Like, not going to listen to any music with cuss words until they turn 18. So I made that decision, man. That was like 20 years ago. And so I made that decision. So one of the first CDs I bought, that's why I bought the Led Zeppelin, So you can hear that bird singing. So I bought that Led Zeppelin CD, and I would listen to that thing 24/7, until I got more CDs. Then I got the Van Halen Greatest Hits, I remember, the Ozzy Osbourne and Black Sabbath. Started getting some more stuff on CD. But that was one of the first ones I was listening to, was the Led Zeppelin Greatest Hits. And my little bird learned like every song. So he would sing, chirp, whatever, all my Led Zeppelin songs, so it was cool as hell. So that's why that little bird was knew every Led Zeppelin song. That's why I was so into Led Zeppelin. So yeah, I'm trying to learn from David. A story within a story, talking about what's in the story, I think. I hope I'm doing a good job. But anyways, so that bird, and then my wife's sister had what did they have? A parakeet. And that parakeet had babies, and she decided to give us one, and my wife took it. And she put it in the cage with my singing parakeet, my singing canary. So, like, I don't know. I guess because I was in my early 20s, and I don't know what the hell got into me, but I was kind of mad, like, well, now this is your bird. And I felt like I was always feeding it. I felt like every time I came home, the water was empty, the food was empty. And, this is young stuff, man. This is like real life, but I kind of started telling her, like, you never feed your birds. In reality, those are your birds. I take care of them. But they're your birds. And she was like, no, you don't. I feed them. I was like, no, I feed them like every single day, sometimes twice a day. I go, you feed them like when I got to work for like a whole week straight, and, here and there. So that was the argument. It's stuff, immature stuff. And so anyways, I said, like, okay, I'm not going to feed them, just so you see that I'm the one who always feeds them. She was like, yeah, I'll feed them. So one day I come home, like after a few months already of them living together, but that parakeet poked out. This is morbid. Don't listen to this, people. Don't listen to it. I shouldn't even be saying it, but this is part of storytelling, I guess. But that parakeet poked out, ate my canary's eyes. I guess because it was hungry, because it wasn't getting fed. At least not enough. This is horrible. So then after that we moved. We moved and we were living in we started renting a house for cheaper than what my apartment was, which is insane. I was living in a 2-bedroom apartment, and then I ended up finding a house to rent, a 3-bedroom with the front yard, backyard. It was a 3-bedroom where I had my slash room, laundry room, for cheaper than my apartment was, which is insane. So we moved there, and I remember like the first week of coming home from work, and when we lived in that house, my one of my cats, I don't know how, but they were able to open the latch, or the bird escaped. I don't know, but when I came home, the bird cage latch was open, the door was open, and my cat, one of my cats, was eating that parakeet. So yeah, morbid. I don't know why I'm saying this. That's sad. That's sad. But that's what happened, man. True life. Wow. I don't know if I'm gonna post this video up. This is kind of bird homicides. So, anyways, the yeah. So since then we've had that bird cage in storage in our garages from that house to here. It's been in the garage, and then all of a sudden a parrot shows up, and so we had a bird cage for it. So I don't know what we're gonna do with that parrot. We named it Chico, but I don't know what we're gonna do with that. I've kind of been waiting for someone to post up some lost bird or this and that. We went to the shelter and looked online, so we don't know who these owners are. So I don't know if we're gonna keep it, but we're gonna wait for the owners, and if we find out who the owners are, we'll return it. But for now, we're giving it a good home. Wow, so that's the story about that bird and why I don't listen to rap anymore. So anyways, the reason I was kind of making this video was because I wanted to tell you guys about Pedro Guerrero. If you watched Mangini's last video, he said in that video, oh, look, he had a Pedro Guerrero card and said, mentioned that was Pepino Man's favorite player. So at one time, man, I gotta admit, this is true. He was my favorite player at one time. Now let me tell you why. Trying to keep up with this theme, man. Trying to be a storyteller. That bird's awesome. Trying to be a storyteller like Blue Jacket 66. So that was a story about how I had this bird, and I try to elaborate with why I had the cage, and then why I was so heavy into Led Zeppelin, because I stopped listening to rap. Why did I stop? Man, I'm drunk and high. Sorry, but people. But anyways, so my genie made a video. So like, it's true, Pedro Guerrero. Now let me tell you why at a certain point in time he was my favorite player. So Pedro Guerrero, when I was a kid, man, you'll never hear me complain about my childhood. Like, I thought my childhood was awesome. We were poor, so we always lived in apartments, which is like the greatest thing for a kid, really, because we always had enough kids to play baseball, play football, play hide and seek, play dodgeball, play whatever. There was always enough kids that you could go around apartments and round up and do something. So it was always fun, man. All the apartments I used to live at. That was kind of the bad thing. We moved around a lot, but like say so Pedro Guerrero. I got a TV for my birthday. Now you might say, if you're poor, how'd you get a TV for your birthday? My mom at the place I used to work, which was called Signet Scientific, she was a packer. That's really all she did was people would order stuff or the stuff they were sending out. She was a packer. So she used to always bring me like that clear duct tape, that packaging tape, So I don't know if if anybody ever saw it, like, man, this is probably like my early days of YouTube, but if I ever mentioned it. I know I remember telling Mike O this. I don't know if it was on one of his podcasts, but yeah, if you ever saw that video of how they broke down the wall and there was a wall of baseball cards. I used to do that when I was a kid. My mom would always bring me this clear packing tape, so my whole wall, two of my walls, were just covered 100% in baseball cards that I just literally taped to the wall. When I was a teenager or a young teenager, and so yeah, that's something I used to do. But my mom's work was like, I think my dad's work. I remember my dad's work being like that, was very generous back then. It seemed like companies back in the days were generous and giving back to the employees. Now we really get nothing. It seems like it's been I don't know if it degenerating is the proper word, or if that's even a word. Talking about my degeneration. But my mom, every year, like at the beginning of June, she would get her company would give out, like, I don't know what you would call them, prizes, gifts, I guess, in gifts for people that worked at 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 year, 5 year, 6 year, 7 year. So you would look at how long you've been there, and if you were there for 5 years, you look in the 5 year section, you could pick one of these prizes, gifts for 5 year people. So I remember we used to do that with my mom every year when I was a kid. And there was a year when she got to a level where she could get I think it was like a 13-inch color TV. No, I think it was black and white. No, it was a color TV. It was a 13-inch color TV, because I remember a few years after that, I was able to get one. She got me one from her work. The same thing, portable mini TV, which was like huge. It was like a VCR, but it had like a little 2-inch, 3-inch screen, and that was black and white. But I remember that the TV that I had in my room was color, because at that time, my household was one of those houses where I could have as many friends over as. I know I had a lot of friends where, like, if there was 5 of us there, like, the parents would say, like, you're gonna have 2 people over. 3 people would have to leave or whatever. But so people would bring over their Ataris, you know what I mean, their ColecoVision, their Nintendo, whatever they had back in. They would take them to my house because everybody could go over there and play. And I remember that was a little black and white TV, and I had that little auxiliary box in the back, so you could hook up, all those devices to the TV. But anyways, yeah. So my mom got me the TV on my birthday, and I watched the Dodger game on my birthday. I remember as soon as I put it in, there was a Dodger game that night, and I watched the Dodger game that night. And Vince Scully mentioned that Pedro Guerrero was on pace to be like to have the most home runs in that month, which my birthday is in June. So I was, and then I asked my dad, can you get tickets for the Dodger game, and so he got like tickets to the next Dodger game. And Pedro Guerrero hit a home run on that day we went to the Dodger game, which was for my birthday, but it wasn't on my birthday. I don't remember. I couldn't even tell you. I'm not one of those people that likes to go on the Google and give you exact information. All I remember is Pedro Guerrero hit like the most home runs, or tied or broke the record for the most home runs in June, which was my birthday. And that was the time my mom got me that TV, and I went to a Dodger game. And that's where I got infatuated. And Pedro Guerrero hit a home run on the day I was there, and I felt like he hit it for me. That's just the truth. As a kid, I felt like he hit that home run for me. You know what I mean? So that's how I was infatuated. Look at this card, this Pedro Guerrero card. This card I cut when I was a kid. It's a lot bigger. But I cut it because I wanted it to fit in my binder and my baseball card boxes with my other cards of my favorite players. So I cut it. It's kind of weird when you think about it. It's like you love it so much, but why would you cut it? Well, because I wanted to fit in my box with my favorite players. So that's why I love Pedro Guerrero. And that was one of those things, like, where I says, like, as a kid also, like, how did I just go to a Dodger game all of a sudden? Like, how do we afford the tickets? My dad used to get free tickets from his work. His boss, I remember this company, I think was called Tube and Seal Cap. But he would get tickets all the time, give my dad tickets for like Raiders games, Rams games, Dodger games, Angel games. So when it came to sports, and then my uncle, I had two uncles stationed in Long Beach who were in the Navy, and they would come every free weekend they had to the house, and man, we would go to the movies. We would go to Raider games. Mickey Thompson's off-road, Raging Waters, because they were in their early 20s, and yeah, they would take us everywhere. They had money. So I'll never complain about my childhood. Never. I had like one of the best childhoods. We were poor. Always lived in poor neighborhoods, poor houses. We were hungry a lot. But when it came to entertainment, man, I never lacked it. Went to the beach a lot. Went to all the Dodger games, Angel games, everything. You know. So yeah, that's my story time video. If you want to call that a story time. But yeah, so that's how I got free tickets. Not free, not me getting free tickets, but that's how I. Man, I'll never complain about my childhood. It was great. So, hope you like this, man. I'm drunk. Love the hobby, people. And just keep collecting baseball cards forever. As.